So welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a recap of Greenleaf season 3 episode 6, Good Morning Calvary. So of course we're coming in on the heels of the devastating news of Sophia, who found out that she could no longer have children, and then the whole situation with Charity and the oxycodone and putting her hand through the daggone vending machine at the hospital. So Mae comes down. It's the middle of the night. She comes down with her rewrite of the announcement that they're supposed to make together to the church, letting the congregation know about the divorce. And so they go back and forth a little bit, and she basically tells him that she's not leaving, that she helped build Calvary, and that she's not leaving. And I mean, that was just the gist of their back and forth. So the following morning, you hear the baby crying, and Mae, she goes into the room, or goes into Charity's room, and with the maid, and she's waking Charity up. Charity is knocked the hell out on the couch, on the couch, and Mae was like, "Didn't you hear the baby crying? The baby was crying for you. What is going on?" And she was like, "Did you take something?" And she's saying that she's having trouble sleeping, and the whole thing, and then she basically, I mean, that whole situation, she didn't get a whole lot out of her. She just basically said what she said and basically went back to sleep. So her and Mae and the maid left the room, and Mae took the baby out of the room. So this is the first time we see Sophia. So of course she's in the bed. She's still devastated of what happened. And who walks in? Zora. So Zora walks in, and Sophia's having none of it. She's just like, "Get out." She's like, "What? I'm just here to see how you were doing." And she's like, "Get out. I don't want to talk to anybody right now." Sophia's not here for the shit, especially from Zora. And she was like, "Well, I'm sorry for saying what I said, about you being pregnant." And she said, "You said that to me before I fell over, and this whole thing. And why are you here?" And she's like, "Because I wanted to check on you." She's like, "Real liar." Sophia's like, "Liar." She's like, "Well, Grandma told me to come." She's like, "Well, just get out. I don't want to talk to anybody." And she said something to told her to go to hell. Told Zora to go to hell. And so Zora was like, "Oh wow." And she's like, Sophia was just like, "Leave me the fuck alone." So Zora storms out, and of course, Grace and Zora have adjoining rooms. So Grace was about to go in to talk to Sophia when her phone rang. And she could see that Sophia was just not in the mood to talk anyway. And so we are at the church, and Mae is talking to somebody, and Karine walks in and says, "Oh, well, she's here." Pastor Maxine, what's her name? Patty LaBelle's character. She's there to visit Calvary. And so she goes out to meet her, and of course it's this whole big to-do. Everybody at Calvary is all excited to meet her, and they're taking photos, and it was this whole thing. And they talk. She talks for a little bit, and it's basically like, I just need to talk to your first lady alone. And so they go on over, and they go back to as they're walking, they run into Rochelle and Pastor. So Rochelle came to the church after talking to the pastor to find out how they can come up with this money. And so she came over, fake forgiving him. And she was talking to him about cryptocurrency. So she was explaining that whole thing to him. So after their meeting, they were leaving just as First Lady and Maxine were walking by. And he was like, "Oh, hi." Because apparently he had no idea that she was showing up. She was going to be there that day. She was like, "Oh, the First Lady didn't tell you I was coming?" He was like, "No, she didn't." And so they had a little small talk, uncomfortable or whatever. And the First Lady had kind of chewed Maxine on, and they were headed to her office. And so they were looking at Rochelle, was like, "Oh, what the First Lady is up to?" And the pastor's like, "Yeah," he's kind of like, "Yeah, me too." And so he walked over. So Rochelle he walked in that direction. And so they said that her and Rochelle walked, said their goodbyes, because Rochelle was actually going to meet with Gigi. So earlier that morning, Gigi got a call from Darius, and it was about a woman, a potential abused woman who killed her husband in self-defense. And so, the charity that her and Rochelle were coming up with that provides legal counsel for domestic violence survivors. And so, of course, he recommended, he was talking to Gigi about helping this woman out. And so after Rochelle left Bishop, she went over to talk to Gigi, and they sat down. And she's sitting there now. I know she know that Gigi and Darius are together, and she was they're talking. They're sitting in Gigi's office, and she's out asking Darius about his shirt, about how it fits, and asking if it was tailored and how it opens at the top perfectly. And then you can see Gigi kind of looked at her, and Gigi was like, yeah. So about this case, and Rochelle was like, oh, you know what? I trust you. If you say that it's a good thing, a good case for us to take, then I trust you. And so they said their goodbyes, and Gigi. And they saw Rochelle out, and Gigi said, I wonder what that was about. And Darius was like, are you jealous? She was like, no, just curious. And so they kissed, and I guess she was gonna go back in the office, and Darius kind of stood there in the hallway for a minute just watching Rochelle. Like, he's trying to figure out what her angle is, what her game is. So back to Mae and Maxine, they're in the office, and she's talking to her about Charity, about how she thinks Charity has a drug problem, and I mean, basically she just doesn't know what to do. And so Maxine recommended someone who could go and talk to Charity to try to get her back on the right track. And she of course Mae was like, well, is she discreet? And Maxine was like, no, but that's why she's so good. And so, they're back at Greenleaf Manor, and Charity is sitting there. She's still on their couch, wearing the same clothes, like she didn't even wash the ass. And Mae walks in. Charity's sitting on the couch drinking wine, and she's like, Mom, I just put him down. I just put him down for bed, and just basically like, I'm just not here for it. And she said, basically she's trying to let Charity know that she's trying to help, and that she brought someone to talk to her. And so in walks Ayana, Miss Fix My Life herself. And so now, of course, she's going to sit down and talk to Charity to find out what's what. So, yeah. So Zora is up to her shit, okay? So, after she left Sophia's room, she went downstairs and saw, the coast is clean. She saw this purse on the counter, and she went through and pulled the cell phone out and was about to call or text the raggedy ass boy, and it was the maid's purse. And so Joel called out to Zora and said, Zora, why are you going through my purse? And so Zora's sitting there with the stuck face, right? So now here you have Mae. The maid that told Mae what happened. So she's upstairs chewing Zora's ass out. Like, what were you thinking? Sneaking around here like some common thief? And she said, you're going to spend the rest of your time in this room, and when you're not in this room, you're going to be with me. And she was like, and I think Mae asked her, basically to confirm that she heard her. She's like, yeah, I heard you. And so she went and she took the phone, and Zora was like, I hate it here. It's a prison. And it's a prison. And so Mae was like, no, what you hate is yourself. Because there will be no other reason for you to be trying to get in contact with this boy that hurt you. So you need to take some time to think about that. And so she walks out, and Mae walks out, and Zora kind of screams and have a little tantrum, whatever. So Ayana's still in there talking to Charity, and she's trying to get to the bottom of what is going on with Charity. And so she asked her, she basically asked the plaintiff, what's the problem? And she was like, I don't feel like anybody loves me. And she said, and Ayana was like, what do you mean? Your mom seems to love you very much. And Charity's like, no, my mom doesn't want me to be an embarrassment. And she was like, what do you mean be an embarrassment? By marrying a gay man? So this is Ayana saying this to her. So did you marry a gay man embarrass her, or did it embarrass you? She's like, what? She's like, how did you marrying a gay man embarrass you, or embarrass her? Or did it marry you? She's like, well, how did you know about that? And so she said, so you didn't know? And Charity was like, no, I didn't know. And she said, are you sure you didn't know? And Charity was like, no, I didn't know. She said there were no signs or anything. And she basically admitted that, she just wanted to feel safe. And Ayana was like, why why do you not feel safe? You live in this gorgeous home with, you have guards and security and, you know, da-da-da-da. And she said, so I don't understand, why do you never feel safe? And she asked her, and I can't, she would have wrote it down. She said, so do you think there's a difference between being safe and being loved? I forget what she said. And so it made Charity think. She stopped and she, you know, to think about that. And so it was a kind of an emotional moment. So we go to Sophia, her boyfriend, his name Roberto. He came by to see her, and he, in his attempt to try to make her feel better, Zora's not in any place mentally to hear any sense or, you know, it's just she's not there yet. And so they started talking, and she said that, yeah, you know, I felt the same way, because I guess he wanted to be a baseball player, and he injured his arm and couldn't pitch anymore. And she said that, well, that's not technically the same thing. And he asked her if she wanted to pray, and she was basically like, no, I don't want to pray. This is all God's fault. And I mean, we knew that because she was so devout and had this happen to her, that now her faith would be tested. And so right now she's just like, no, I don't want to talk. I don't want to pray. He did this to me. And he started telling her about the women in the Bible who were deemed barren, and then they eventually had children. And so she was like, well, I'm not barren, I'm sterile. And he was like, well, there's really no difference. And so she was like, yes, it is. And she went off on the boy, and he eventually said, you know what, I'll just stop by and talk. You know, I'll just stop by tomorrow. So he got up and left. And around this time, she's in her room and she's looking at the news story, and the lady's name was Carol Hunter or something, the woman that killed her husband. So there's a news report, and they're talking about how the DA is seeking the death penalty. So Sophia walks in, and she said, well, how are things with Roberto? And she, you know, sat down and talked to her. Initially she didn't want to. She sat down and was basically like, you know, she doesn't want to go to church anymore because she's supposed to run the group with the children. And she's like, how could I, you know, stand in front of them and talk about how good the Lord is when I don't feel that way anymore, and he did this to me. And, you know, Faith is trying to console her while, not Faith, Lord, Gigi's trying to console her while, you know, still trying to, wanting her to continue on. And she basically was like, you know, you stopped going to church. You stopped going to church for 20 years. And she was like, well, that was a mistake. She was like, well, I don't feel like I don't need to go anymore. And I just don't want to go anymore. And she just got up, walked out, and went back into her room. Like, and Gigi is now sitting there like, oh, okay. There's not a whole lot that she can do. You know, you have a teenage daughter whose life has been forever changed. And it's like, you can't force her, because if you try to force her, then she's just going to, you know, resent you even more. She's going to resent you. I don't think she doesn't resent her, but you know, it's a fine line. So she's trying to tread carefully to let Sophia come to terms with things in her own time. So we go to Mae. Mae's in bed, and Zora walks in, and she's like, oh, hi, come on in. So she said, I want to call my mom. And so she gave her the phone, and she called, and she's all faking, like, hi, you know, I want to come home now. So now Mae's taking her glass home, just looking at her. And so of course, Kerissa's happy. She's like, well, Zora was like, well, you told me that I can come home anytime, and, you know, I promise I'll be good, and I just want to come home. And Kerissa was like, well, I'll talk to your dad. And so they hung up, and she gave Mae the phone, and I guess walked out. So Kerissa goes in talking, and she talked to Jacob, and he was looking at something, working on something. And he said, what happened now? What's going on? And Kerissa was like, Zora wants to come home. And his face is like, no. She's like, oh, well, she's miserable there. He was like, well, that means it's working. And I said, well, you know, I told her I would talk to you. And she said, well, he was like, well, I think you filled me in, but no. You gave me veto power, and that's not what I'm using. No. And Kerissa's face was like, she just gave him the ugliest look. And it's like, Kerissa, you know good well that girl is not. She's not. I know she's your daughter, that's your baby, and you want her to come home, and you think that you got it all worked out and you can figure it out. And but Zora is a piece of damn work, and she's just not ready. And Jacob's, even without talking to her, she ain't been there long enough for anything to have changed. So no. And Kerissa just did not want to hear that. She's like, I want my baby to come home. After Zora made the call to Kerissa, Mae went downstairs to talk to Bishop, and she wanted to let him know that Ayana wanted to sit down with her and Bishop with Charity, so they can all sit down and have a discussion to kind of go over what they've been talking about. And he agreed to do it. And he asked her, "What is Maxine doing here?" She's like, What are you talking about?" He said, "What is Maxine doing here?" And she really didn't want to say at the moment. And so he said, so they had a little back and forth, and he was like, just as long as you add a farewell to the what am I thinking of? The statement they're going to make to the congregation about them divorcing. He said, just as long as you add a farewell to it. And so she kind of looked at him like, why is he, but your damn wife is a snake. Why are you trying to play her like, come on now, Bishop. So, next morning, they're sitting down with Ayana. I can't remember why I can't pronounce someone's name. And Charity, Ayana's like, she just basically wants to talk to you guys. And she's saying that, Charity starts off by saying that she's scared, and she's always been scared for as long as she's known. And, she remembered being a kid, and Grace and Faith being scared, and that made it even worse for her. And so Mae kept jumping in and interrupting her, basically saying, it's not my fault, don't blame me. That was basically the gist of it, even though she didn't say those words. Ayana was like, this is, she's not blaming either of you for anything. She just wants you guys to listen. And Mae just could not help herself. She was basically, Charity finally stood up and said, Mom, can you just listen to me and let me talk? I'm doing what you asked me to do. And Mae said, no. In a few hours, I'm about to stand up in front of our congregation and tell them that I failed at something that I never thought that I would. Basically, the mayor just felt like them giving the statement. And she's saying that if you're having problems, she said, pray about it. And if you don't pray, if you say have faith, and if you don't have faith, pray about that. But she was basically like, I never, all the stuff I guess she's gone through in her life, she's never once blamed her mother. And that's probably why you so fucked up to your own daughters. It's because you may not have you never dealt with the issues between you and your mother. And so she basically was like, no. And, I have to get up and do this, and I don't need anybody else blaming me for something today. And she got up and walked out. And so Bishop sat there, and he said, well, we're here, we're listening now. I guess he was talking about him and Ayana. She was like, Dad, no, you're not. No, you're not. And after today, I don't think you ever will be again. And he kind of looked at her for a minute, and the next thing you see is him walking into the room, the master bedroom, and Mae was there at the vanity, I guess, touching up her makeup or whatever. And he told her that he would give her the house, but she would have to leave. But basically, you could have the house, but he's keeping the church. And so we head over to the church, and Charity is doing what she do, singing her ass off. And so after she sang, so back a little bit. So while the service is going on, you see Zora. She's sneaking around doing a bit herself. She snuck into somebody's office. Probably was Gigi's office. I don't know. And somebody left their lap. She left her laptop open, and she's now sitting having a video chat with this damn fool, right? So all this is going. So she's to be able to do this because they're all distracted with the service. And so Charity sings, and the bishop and Mae they stand up. And they basically announce to the church, and of course everybody's all shocked, and the kids, they're in the back crying, and it's just, it was an emotional moment. And he agreed she could keep the house, and that she could do this Women's Day event at the church. And she basically said that, that she told him about the event, and that it's going to be a day to remember, and that Maxine Patterson, Patty LaBelle's character, is going to be preside over it, and that it's going to be just tell your friends, friends, and it's going to be this whole thing. And the name of it is going to be She Changes Everything. And it's like, oh boy. And so you got to see their smile. And she was like, yeah, she was very, but she was very passionate about this, especially about that title, when she said she changes everything. And so after that, the congregation, they're clapping and yes, and it's, whatever. And they embrace. And that's basically, yeah, your wife is crazy. And she know her husband is crazy. These people been together scheming and scamming folks since forever. Since Jesus was a baby. It's like, come on now, you can't tell how each other's gonna react. Come on. They're back at Greenleaf Manor and they're saying their goodbyes. Well, Mae is saying her goodbyes to Maxine and Ayana. And so Maxine goes first and they talk, and of course they're, looking forward to the event. And so she goes and Maxine leaves, and then she kind of she starts talking to Ayana like, I don't appreciate being bushwhacked and all that kind of stuff. And Ayana was like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you feel that way. She said, I didn't feel that way. That's basically what happened. And basically she resents being ambushed. And she said, where you weren't ambushed, you were ambushed by me, basically you was ambushed by Charity's Truth. And so she said, I didn't ask you to come here so you could tell my daughter that everything was my fault. I get enough of that from my oldest. I don't need it from my baby too. And she was like, basically, I was like, you didn't ask me to come here. But when you're ready to talk to deal with your pain, I'll be there. And so she got on her way, got in her car, went on. And so Mae kind of stood there for a minute, just looking like, yeah, bitch, you got some shit you need to work through too. Kerissa's at the house. She's talking to Zora, and she's letting her know that, well, I talked to your father, and he thinks that, we think that it's best that we stay the course. And now all of a sudden there's a pep in Zora's step. She's like, well, I understand, and I think this is what's best for me. And it's like, what the hell is her and that guy talk about it? Are they making plans to run away? She's gonna run away and meet up with this crazy ass. Anywho, Zora was, Kerissa was like, she kind of looked at her and was like, yeah, she apologized for something, and Zora was like, oh, it's not, basically, it's no big deal, I think this was best to me, So you have Gigi, she walks into Sophia's room, and Sophia's about to go out for a walk, and she was like, oh, well, I need to talk to you, a lot happened at church today. And Sophia was like, she already know. You said, yeah, my phone's been blowing up, and text messages and all kind of stuff, so she already know. And she's like, yeah, and someone wanted to know when I could be coming back to do the children's class or something. And Gigi asked her, like, so what did you tell her? And she was like, Mom, she just looked at her like, Mom, what do you have to say? What do you want to talk about? And she said, basically was like, I know you don't feel like it now, but eventually you're going to have to go back. And Sophia looked at her and told her, no, I'm never going to church again. And so now Gigi, she's sitting there and she's, what could she say? And so Sophia went on out and she kind of went onto the deck overlooking the lake, and she kind of snatched her necklace off with the gold cross and she threw it in the lake and kind of walked away. And so they're going to be, this is only episode 6, so we can imagine there's going to be a lot of twists and turns and a lot of battles that Sophia is going to have to fight in order to get back to where she was. So, all in all, this is a pretty good episode, and I can't wait until next episode to see what is going on, because we know Zora's going to be up to some shit. So, I'm going to end this here, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.